Okay. Welcome to Toxandtonics, straight talk with Jason, a modern guy, just navigating life, health, business, love, and Experience Canada life. I am here. I can't remember what episode we're on now. You know, I always wanted to be the guy that says, oh, it's episode number 55, 56. I know we're not there yet. Oh, shoot. I got to put this on. Here we go. Thank you. There we go. Thanks. Shawn, our co-producer here. Actually, he's actually the producer, so he's the one that taught me how to do these podcasts.
Sweet.
Hey, Shawn, welcome.
Also the host of the Cax Bar and podcast. So,
yeah, there we are. Awesome. Okay. This is our first joint show.
Is it?
I think.
Yeah, it was done spontaneously. This was Jason last minute just asked me to jump on just because outside we were all talking about men's mental health, masculinity stuff, and then kind of like some natural chemistry kind of started to show right there. And then Jason's like, "Hey, jump on." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, get in there.
I think that was a good call, Jason. Just based on the conversation we had earlier, I think,
beautiful.
This is a really good call.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Got to learn from my coaches, right? And speaking of that, Jessica here is our guest today on Toxandtonics. She is a trauma coach, an equine facilitator, and an advanced care paramedic.
Yes.
And I'm going to let her talk a little bit more about that in a minute here. But everybody knows that my podcast, since I've started, it's focused on men's mental health. I'm a big men's mental health advocate. And then we had a couple of episodes that talked about some modern dating stuff, right? And thirdly, you know, adventurous stuff, and you know, we get different themes. And Shawn's been here with my journey on that, and we're talking journeys. We're talking all this fun stuff today on today's podcast. So welcome, Jess.
Thank you for having me. This is a great spot, by the way.
Right?
Well, thank you.
Fun place to work. Honestly, I'll come work here.
Yeah. All right.
Well, it's like so. I don't think she's heard the story yet, Shawn.
Oh, okay. This is your first time here?
Yeah.
We're Cax Bar and Podcast. We're the first podcast bar ever in the world, probably. I know North America for sure, and I don't know if like somewhere in Europe or Japan, if they've done something like this, or Asia, but from what we know, we're the first in the world. So that side's a regular bar restaurant, elevated pub food, drinks on tap, wine,
That's
liquor.
Behind me.
Yeah.
I'm pointing there.
Yeah. And then this is the podcast studio in the bar. So we film our shows out of here, but we also rent this studio out to people who want to make their own podcasts.
I think this is genius. You guys have really hit on something. And it's a really, really cool bar behind us.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Super cool.
Well, and the other thing is, Shawn made it so easy for me to start podcasting.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, okay, well, what do we do? Blah, 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 what do we need? And he just said, you ask the questions. We're going to film you. We've got the mic. We've got the sound. He gives you the raw file if you wanted to edit it. But I think he does some editing too.
Just basic editing.
If
you have the two cameras, and you want that option, I can chop it for you. So that's the 110. The price points are all on the website. Just caxbarpodcast.com.
Awesome. Well, there you go. You know what? Thanks again, Shawn.
Yeah.
Jess.
Yes.
Where are we going to go? We can go from men's health to modern dating to being adventurous. Let's learn a little bit about your adventure and what's brought you to today with all these coaching things in your background.
Well, the short answer is trauma.
Trauma?
Yeah, significant trauma.
Yeah.
like personally?
Yes.
Okay. How deep do you want to share that?
I've been a very open book about my story, and I would say that it probably started in utero, if we're being realistic about it.
Yeah.
And so
the day the fireworks happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. The day the fireworks happened.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for your in utero experience. I don't think we actually understand that being born is one of the most traumatic things that we experience as human beings.
Okay.
And a huge part of your development happens in your mother's womb. And if you have a mother who is extremely stressed out or has that mental illness, then like mine does, and if she hears this, she's going to be really upset with me because she doesn't know she has it.
But most people in that generation don't.
Well, and it's borderline personality disorder, and one of the hallmarks of that disorder is that they have no idea that they have it. it's becoming more and more diagnosable, or diagnosed, I should say, and there are more and more people that are seeking treatment for it. But for the most part, it's a very it seems to be pervasive in that generation, is something that I've noticed. But when you have a mother who's really mentally ill, you end up with a lot of the stress hormones as part of your nutrients that are circulating through your body. So your brain is developed on cortisol and norepinephrine and all of these stress hormones instead of the hormones that it needs to be developed on, which is oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin.
All the huggy lovey stuff.
So already your brain is like wired for shit to happen.
Aren't humans, though, for the most part, historically, all kind of have these have this experience through birth? I mean, like almost like all of history, most societies they've come through like traumatic wartime and everything, right?
Yeah.
So I would imagine like we're kind of pretty fucked up for the most part.
Multi-generational in utero trauma, absolutely.
Yes.
And something that I do talk about quite a bit is the fact that our parents were the first generation after World War II.
Okay.
And we really don't give that enough credence.
Yeah.
That our parents would have been raised by parents that were part or like involved or victims of World War II.
That's true.
And we don't ever talk about that. And you know what's fascinating? He talks about that in this book that I've got. No More Mr. Nice Guy. We're going to talk about that later, I guess,
we will.
right?
We will be, yes.
But yeah.
In utero trauma.
So, and then it just perpetuated from there. And of course, I became a first responder because a lot of people that have childhood trauma jump into the first responder jobs as a maladaptive coping mechanism, which I can get into more. But so I was really jumping from the pot into the fire in that case. And I've also had a pretty, I don't want to call it unlucky dating history, but it's definitely added to my trauma. So, but having said all of that, in my pursuit to heal and in my pursuit of personal growth, I have had the ability to have some really incredible experiences, including psychedelic treatment, which changed my life. I run an equine therapy charity that I've been doing for 14 years, and being able to work horses was also working with horses was also transformational for me. And so that sort of led me to where I am here, where I'm able to work with other people and help them navigate the things that are going on in their lives, because I've experienced so much that I've been able to figure out the things that need to happen and the things that people need to understand and know in order for them to heal. Because a lot of this information isn't being disseminated by the mental health or medical community.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
When it comes to the medical community, you're part of the care system.
Correct.
I'm part of the care system as a nurse.
Yeah.
But my thing is I'm Filipino. Of course I'm a nurse.
Oh, is that stereotype?
Stereotype.
It's surprising.
Oh, okay.
And you're not.
There you go, right?
I actually didn't know that. Is
Absolutely.
that's a stereotype of people from the Philippines?
Yeah, basically, if it's we're here with AHS, if you can't say nurses go on strike, but if Filipinos go on strike, you'll have more than the 33,000 nurses.
Yes.
Right. That's probably 90% Filipino.
Yeah.
And this is counting RNs and LPNs and nurse aides. Like it'll be
the nursing homes will be empty.
It'll show a message to the powers that be with healthcare.
Exactly.
Right. So
it's a big workforce.
Interesting.
Yeah. And you got the paramedics. The paramedics are going through the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So yeah. So our healthcare system is fucked, and that's basically what I'm saying. And it's not prepared to deal with all the mental health issues that were from the past, and then the mental health issues that COVID accelerated. And it's like our healthcare system just is just not built for it.
It was broken before.
It was broken before, yeah.
What's happening currently when it comes to mental health treatment isn't working, and yet what they're doing is they're doubling down on it and just doing the same thing.
Yeah,
like as in just giving more drugs out, essentially.
It's not working. It's clearly not working. And I'll say, like, the one big gift that COVID gave us was that it shined a really bright light on the fact that what we're doing in regards to mental health isn't fucking working. And the big gift that COVID gave us is it really propelled the psychedelic movement forward, because people were so desperate that they were like, we're willing to try anything.
Yeah.
And so psychedelics was really able to come in and say, hey, I've been here this entire time. I've been here for thousands of years. When you idiots finally get your shit together and realize that I'm a gift to you to help you heal, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah. And here I thought you were taking, when we first met, because we met through our good friend Megan, right?
Yeah.
And she also is a guide and coach. But at the same time, that's who has trained you. Oh, no, the other way around.
Yes.
You were training her when I met you.
Yep.
And I learned that you were a paramedic. I thought you were just, doing the, treating yourself for PTSD. Our first responders.
Yeah.
Right? So, and fast forward to now, and now she's coaching me how to be a guide as well, as an RN. Yeah, so. And
one of the big goals that I accomplished was that I actually built and ran one of the first psychedelic assisted therapy clinics here in Alberta.
Okay.
And this was before any of the rules or regulations were in place. So imagine starting a brand new business that's really hasn't been done before. There's no plan that you can get. There's no one you can hire to tell you how to do this because it hasn't been done. And literally it is all just a no man's land when it comes to treatment plans, when it comes to any of it. It was all, I had to figure out every single detail of it. And it was like giving birth to something. I put so much of my heart and soul into it. And in doing so, was able to treat successfully a lot of people, a lot of first responders. We had major turnarounds in people's mental health with ketamine, because that is the legal psychedelic right now. And I'm really proud of that. And because of that work, I was asked to sit on the expert panel. My words today. I was asked to sit on an expert panel.
So that whiskey and wine,
right? Yeah. I probably need more. That's probably
okay.
Actually, you know what? I'm parched. Here you go. Let's take a little break and wet our whistles.
I'm still on a work day.
He's on a work day.
But I was asked to sit on an expert panel to help create the regulations around psychedelics here in the province. And that was a real honor because paramedics have not been asked to do that type of work before.
Okay.
And so to sit with that panel of experts and to be, they treated me extremely well. They were all open to everything that I had to suggest.
Excellent.
And I would say it was a really positive experience. And the other beautiful thing is I was able to bring my college in. And one of the biggest things about being a paramedic is we're so underrated. People really don't know that we have an extensive scope of practice. They don't know what we're capable of. And they think we're synonymous with an ambulance, that the only time a paramedic can work is on an ambulance, which is not the truth at all. And having our college involved allowed me to make sure that paramedics are on the list of approved providers of administering the psychedelic in a clinical setting with a psychiatrist, psychologist, etc. And that's a big feather in my cap because that's a whole new career stream for paramedics that didn't exist before that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Shawn. I've got.
I got loads of questions. I mean, I think everyone in this panel here the room here, we've all done mushrooms, right? Like psychedelics, right? Yeah.
I'm on some right now.
Yeah,
Microdoses.
Microdoses.
No, I've never done microdoses. I went for I've told this on my podcast before, but I've done the hero dose, which was the Terrence McKenna prescribed 7 grams.
Okay.
And I don't know, I just remember the experience I had was a game changer for a bit though, but it ultimately it did wear off. And I remember the things that I was trying to get through, they resurfaced. And then I did the dose again, this is months apart.
Yes.
And then I started, I had the same cool experience again where, I basically realized we're all one consciousness. And I don't say it facetiously.
No,
I'm literally wow, we're literally one consciousness, just kind of having this illusion where we're all individuals called Jess, Jason, Shawn. And so basically talking to ourselves in a weird way. And then you almost have this perspective where everything's okay if you realize this is kind of, in the end, it's all okay because we're all one thing anyway. You get that perspective and feeling when you're on the shrooms. But the one thing I've noticed again is it wore off again. And then it's weird how the same problems, you get back into ego. And then next thing you know, you forget that everything you learned here and then next, you're caught up again in your money struggles, health struggles, relationship struggles, friend struggles, drama. So like my question, I guess, was, in your practice right now, do you suggest prescribing like consistent dosages of like psychedelics essentially to make it into a routine into people's life? Because that was where I was kind of thinking more or less about. Like, he's like, do I just need to microdose like all the time to keep that super perspective that I
do we want to do it? Do you want to break it down in the biochemistry way, or do you want to break it down in?
Well, I think there's three aspects. It depends on the medicine.
Yeah.
It depends on what your intention is, what you're hoping to get out of it. And one of the big key pieces that people don't maybe take enough credence in is integration.
Yeah.
So that's the process of making meaning and sense of your experience, but also creating a plan of change in your life. So the psychedelics can create, show you these profound things, and for a period of time you're changed. But if you don't make a conscious plan on how to continue doing the work, which is integration, you're going to notice that things wear off. And the good feeling does wear off, the optimism, the, feeling great about life. Sure, that does wear off. But in the meantime, if you start being dedicated to being conscious of your thoughts, being conscious of your beliefs, and understanding that you actually control your thoughts, and changing them for ones that are compassionate and kind to yourself.
You control the thoughts you focus on. You actually can't control. Thoughts are kind of like I describe them as this wave of like fish, kind of like in an ocean, and then but like it's like which one you're going to grab, right?
Exactly.
Because you can't control thoughts. They happen no matter what.
But you can choose what you believe.
You can choose the one you
so this is
focus on and believe.
You said you're doing your hero doses.
That was a long time ago, by the way. I've only done the hero dose twice, so it's been a decade since I've done the second hero.
Me.
Yeah. I would say don't be in public when you do that.
Don't be in public.
Yeah,
kinds of reasons why that's
I was in my condo talking to my cat for hours, like for real, like it was a full on.
Oh jeez.
You don't want to end up on a stretcher at the foothills in the hallway.
Yeah.
I think what he was mentioning earlier, because and I'm trying to connect this. So you call it the work, right?
Yes,
it's the intent.
It is
the intent that you put through. So when you do it, those two high dose ones, you weren't doing it to figure out.
Well, I was going through some. Oh no, I was, because I remember at the time it was. I went through a breakup, right? But that at the time, I remember in my mind. That was me at my best. Yeah. And then the girl of my dreams dumped me, right?
Yeah.
So I was sitting there thinking like, whoa, I'm a loser. And then, and I couldn't, obviously everyone around me is like, well, you're not a loser. Your life's pretty put together. You have a good job, you have a place, you're yoked, you train martial arts, you're funny dude. They list all that, but in my brain, I'm like, oh man, like what you done me, I'm a loser. And then I remember at the time, in hindsight now, I realize why she dumped me. It made total sense. Because in my mind, I was being masculine, but in reality, I was doing what most of societal people were doing. At home, I wasn't really. I don't know. I end up she didn't word it like this, but I discovered I killed the whatever you call it, sexual attraction factor by acting so indirectly feminine at home that she started feeling like she was dating more her brother than her.
Okay.
Well, it's just when you're I don't do any of this anymore because I made a conscious choice to elevate as a traditional man, if you will. I went back to rooted masculinity, which is a lot. We've had these debates on my podcast with other guests, but it's even on yours when you say men don't cry, men don't they're supposed to be not show fear, they're not supposed to I actually agree with all that now. You're supposed to it's an honor to try to take on a challenge. It's an honor to try to not be to be the one diving headfirst into something. It's an honor to try to manage your emotions through pressure. It's an honor to be the person who you do that so the people around you can be relaxed and they can because they have their own roles that they need and they need someone to look up to. You need to be the rock, right, in the relationship. Okay. So once I took that approach, with everything, complete accountability, it naturally progressed in the long run towards, pursuing my super passion, which is what I'm doing now, entrepreneur with a bar restaurant.
But would you say it's the accountability that is attracting your partner, or is it the masculinity
she feels safe around me, she says, because I always handle the problems that are coming, whether it is money or whatever. I, like I show a good attitude with it too. Like, and I'm calm, like at home, right? Like now, but the argument is that, dude, that's not realistic. We're all human. But that's what I'm thinking. Like in the past, like the high achievers, they actually win this mental battle every day. Like, like they're brave. They go and take, like, and even if they're losing, they don't give up. They don't quit. They think of solutions, but they're always showing like resilience to getting through whatever problem is. Or if the problem overwhelms them and beats them, they're not down. They pick themselves up, which is what you're doing with your situation, right? Like, but how the mushrooms fly in was I discovered most of that with the hero dose, because like I was recommended it by my buddy who went through a bunch of trauma himself. His trauma was like horrendous.
Got it. Okay.
And then the hero dose caused me to analyze the ego, right?
Did you have a guide, or were you doing things by yourself?
Just YouTube, like, hey, how do I do this? Throw science. I throw science out of a gym. Really, quite literally.
You're doing what every healthcare practitioner does out there. Self-medicate. Right? Yeah. And self-medication, right, is something that lots of people do with trauma.
Yeah, it is.
So you can talk a little bit about this, because as a paramedic.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was fortunate. My uncle is a medicine provider in Mexico, so I was able to go to Mexico and do it properly. And so my experience there really set the tone for how I do it for people, how I ran the clinic. And
what is the proper way to do it? I just ate it all at once, and I started looking at my cat and tell me what's wrong. My ego.
Know your dose. I think you've heard me talk about this before.
Yeah, know your dose. Know your dose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you're working with anything other than mushrooms, you need to be working with somebody with extensive experience. If you're working with, say, ayahuasca, 5-MeO, iboga, you need somebody that's got years and years of training under their belt. And honestly, the best facilitators are the ones that have experienced an extensive amount of trauma and have used psychedelics to heal themselves, because they're going to understand the process. But the difference between having a guide and doing it on your own is if you have somebody who does things properly, they make sure that they prep you well. They already start to talk to you about concepts like the ego. And, I understand what you're saying about masculine energy, but I think a big piece of what's missing for men is a sense of self-love. There is a real sense of, I'm just going to be harder on myself and I'm going to handle shit. And eventually that starts to fail at some point, because it's the equivalent of stepping on the gas and stepping on the brakes in your vehicle and then wondering why your engine is worn out. Eventually your mental health is going to take a nosedive. You cannot sustain that. And so men that have a healthy relationship with themselves, that is the key to all of it. The key to healing, and I'm going to give you guys the shortcut here, the key to all healing is to heal the relationship that you have with yourself. If you have a healthy and loving and compassionate relationship with yourself, the rest of your life is going to change drastically because of that. And that's the whole point to healing. Like that Ram Dass saying, we're all just walking each other home. That's what he means. We're all just helping each other come home to ourselves, because this is home. Yeah. So when this is healthy and stable, everything else is irrelevant.
I agree totally. And what I went through is that, because for instance, one of the keys that I didn't know at the time was when in that relationship, that the one that fell apart, I remember one thing she kept saying was like, hey, when I first met you, you didn't really complain. You were always optimistic. But the more I met you, you complained a lot about you hate your job, you don't like this, blah, blah. And I remember, that compounded towards the losing attraction towards me until it was over, right? Yeah. But I remember being the mushrooms, it really made me realize, I'm like, hey, what do you love to do? Who are you, Shawn? And then I started realizing, okay, I relisted all my passions. I was like, you got to find a way to make this your life, because that is self-love, pursuing 100%. Your passion, right? Yeah. So I got really back into weights, martial arts. I was already into it, but I doubled down again. I started just doing stuff I love. And then I got out of the oil and gas world to get back into bars, because I remember I loved working in bars, this fun. And then I remember those little steps, that was self-love. And I remember as you got that self-love, then it compounds. Then you get confident again. And then when you get confident, you love yourself, because you're the one who helped yourself get through that.
That's right.
And it's So I think the mental health the relationship with to love yourself is like get rid of that shame.
Yes.
Is you have to find a way to get back to what you're about, because most people, they're trapped doing things that's not really what they're about. I would say majority, like high majority,
That's
90%.
a big aspect of this book that we were
Which is that book that right there.
right.
Yeah.
But to
Just one
finish,
comment on that one. Like,
Yeah.
So, you're talking about all the realizations that you've learned. All
How's
the
your mic, by
learnings.
the way? Do you move it closer or no?
I moved it.
Okay.
I can hear myself.
Yeah, you hear? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks. It's gonna. You're gonna give me time. You're gonna edit this stuff. It's awesome. You'll edit afterwards.
Okay.
I'll
probably keep that in. That's just funny.
Where's my thought?
Shows we're human.
My thought process is going now.
Oh, sorry.
Where was I going with
Yeah.
that one? Where was I going with that one?
Though.
Yes, there we go.
Okay.
Yes,
Sorry, bro. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Having somebody that knows what they're doing means that they're going to prep you properly so that you have an understanding of what you're doing. They will educate you on trauma and how it actually affects people, which I would love to talk about. Not what we've been told, but how it actually affects us. And they'll go into exactly how the psychedelics work so that you can make an informed decision about what you're doing. And then when you have somebody that knows how to hold space for you, your level of safety is completely different, because you're not worried about anything happening to you. You know that you can just go into the experience and this person has it handled. And if for some reason that experience were to get really intense, which some people label a bad trip, I call it a really intense trip, that person's there to help move you through it and to show you that you have the power to heal yourself. Because that is the biggest thing that we're missing, is the understanding that we all have the power to heal ourselves. It's not something external of us. It is inside of us, and we've been disconnected from that version of us because of our trauma. The trauma separates you from your true inner self.
Yeah, I think I encourage and chime in, both of you. Like, I felt like the more I've looked at people's trauma, including my own and stuff, it's like the trauma has to do with like your ego, like taking a blow. Essentially, almost everything feels like you let yourself down, kind of like because your ego is supposed to be your superhero, right? Like.
But the ego can also take over and start lying to you. Yeah. Like the concept of ego is an interesting one. My experience, my truth of the ego is that, yes, it creates a separateness in us. It differentiates me from you. And to have a healthy ego means that it chimes in when you're under threat, but you as a human are connected to your true self. So that's the version of you that loves yourself.
Right.
Okay. When the ego steps in, it's a compensatory mechanism for trauma. So what ego sounds like is negative thoughts about yourself, negative beliefs about yourself, a negative view about your future. And this is when it's trying to keep you safe, right? It chimes in.
I call the ego the nitrous. Like I always I love cars. I love machines and stuff. And you probably love machines as well. But basically, if it's the nitrous oxide when you need a turbo boost.
If it's working well.
Yeah. If you're living life well and you're doing things well, you hit that turbo boost button and it tells you, yes, let's light some more fire, and you're going the right way.
But when you've had a lot of trauma, your ego takes over. And so what it does is it creates all of these thoughts that are based on your past trauma that aren't the truth. So it's the negative self-talk, it's the negative beliefs, it's the need to control everything, it's the need to anticipate worst case scenario so that you can predict whether it's going to happen or not. And this isn't a theory, this is the truth. This is the actual truth. So when you hear negative self-talk, that's not really you. That's your ego. That's your past experiences shit-talking you. And unfortunately, when people have negative or adverse experiences in childhood or trauma, they have been shown in all the ways that they're not valuable, that their needs are, they don't exist, and that they're unworthy of love, that they, all these things. And so they grow up as adults having that constant narrative in their minds, whether they're aware of it or not. And it very much is in your unconscious, but it informs your reality and makes all your decisions for you. So the ego can very easily take over your personality. It did with me. And those are people that are super reactive. They have bad tempers. It doesn't not take very much for them to get defensive. It doesn't take much for them to get derailed. And they live in fear, they live in anxiety, and they live in depression. And their ego is in the driver's seat. And, my beautiful friend Adele gave me some wonderful advice. She said, Jessica, your thoughts are the soldier and your soul is the general. And what happens when you have trauma is the thoughts creep in and take over and become the general, and we start listening to everything that we think, and more importantly, we start believing everything we think. And we shouldn't believe everything we think, because a lot of it is lies from our past experiences.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? We've had to come to a skewed sense of acceptance of why we were treated the way we were in childhood. And when you're little, the easiest thing to go to is, I deserve it. It's not, my parents were fucked. My parents fucked up. It's, I deserved it. That's what the little child says to themselves. Mm-hmm. My needs aren't being met. I deserve it. Mm. You know, and there's a comprehensive reason why for that. And I go into detail with my clients why and how that happens. But you end up being an adult that is completely controlled by your thoughts. Mm-hmm. And the ego's in the driver's seat. So healing means putting the ego in the passenger seat and saying, when I need you, when I'm really actually under threat, please chime in. Yeah. But until that happens, sit down and shut up and put your seatbelt on.
Yeah. And in your work then, Jessica, you do this to help people heal.
Yes.
So does there come a time when you are no longer their caregiver?
I am never their caregiver. My job with them is to empower them from the moment that they start talking to me.
Say it again?
My job is to empower them from the moment that they start talking to me.
Okay.
Interesting.
Huh. And then so I'm being coached by you right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to figure out.
It's very compassionate approach to.
Yeah.
But it's the truth.
It's like,
everyone.
Yeah. Oh, no, keep going. Yeah.
I was going to say, everyone has the power to heal themselves, but we've been disempowered by our society. We've been led to believe that it is something external of us that will heal us. We don't know how incredibly powerful we are and that we are perfectly capable of healing ourselves. We just need somebody to shine a light on the path to that healing.
But it's like, you're talking about confidence. You're talking about, just because that's, I'm going to use, Austin Powers mojo, right?
Yeah.
There's a time, after I separated and divorced, and, that I thought I lost my mojo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, and I've gone through my journey, I've gone through my healing, and I'm still healing. Mm-hmm. But will that point of healing ever not need to be there?
Do you ever really heal?
Exactly.
Or do you just have tools that you manage yourself with?
To microdose, well, I always have to seek.
Because I just want to point, some of the, I listen to a lot of military podcasts, like Jocko Willink and stuff like that. Love that guy. And Jocko talks about this thing called mind control, which is controlling your own mind.
Yeah.
Because are all familiar with the mind control thing?
Yeah.
And when that really resonated with me, because I remember when the mushrooms wore off, I was like, wow, now the problem still persists. And I think this is what I think. And I'm 38, my experiences are at where they are, and I just feel like I don't think you've ever fully healed from trauma. I think you just develop more tools to help work through it every day. You just have a massive toolbox of it's kind of like your body. As you get older, it's not like your body gets younger. You just develop more tools, as in maybe it's hormone therapy, training, sleep regulation, timing of when you go out. You just and then you manage yourself. And that's what I noticed, because I would love to be able to just pull the actual trauma away, where it's when you think about it, you don't get any feelings associated. But
I'm glad he's bringing this up, because we on my show I've talked about that I'm taking testosterone replacement therapy and
so am I.
I'm all those things, right? You're on TRT as well.
I shall be soon. Yeah.
But anyways, it's only because our body's aging, right? When you're born, and you started it off with this, when you're born, your body produces a certain level and for the body to basically live and survive. Yeah. There's basically what's called homeostasis, right? You have your dopamine, you have your uppers, you have your lowers, and all these different things, and all these different hormones. Testosterone, right? Testosterone, oxytocin,
dopamine, serotonin.
All these are hormones that, when you are born perfectly, will be perfectly balanced and functional. But not everybody's perfect, and we all know this, right? Well, as we age, though,
we're all varied.
Exactly. Yeah. And as we age, our bodies, to naturally produce it, what we need, it's not producing the amounts that our bodies need. So you start having to put replacement.
You know, I want to comment on. There's two thoughts to that. Lately, I've been studying more and more. Specifically, it's from Billy Carson. I name his content. If you don't know who he is, just Google after. Okay. But he was explaining like through all of his studies, like the human body, like without modern manipulation of medicine, like we're supposed to be able to live to 120, like that, like without needing a TRT.
Yes.
But how they. Okay, I forget the way he broke it down precisely, but he was saying if we live the way our ancestors did by using our bodies 24/7, like farming, moving, like we'd be always making testosterone because your body needs to make it to like move, right? Like it's like we actually have all the basic building blocks. We're just so far removed from our natural environment now in this new era that we've kind of like short circuited our brains to like produce regular hormones and things like and dopamine and all that. And like that's why we're also having mental health. Like not only is it like a spiritual battle, we're actually our engines actually like in a wrong like we're driving like the wrong car. Like instead of driving like a four-wheeler, wrong oil, like
cortisol is a stress hormone. And with after every traumatic event, cortisol is like everybody's cortisol is all over the place.
Yeah.
Right. So so I'm basically trying to say is like basically our liquids and our numbers are not balanced right now.
No, and the one main thing that is a main thing everyone needs to do is work out all the time. Like we're like it's not like because we're meant to be working. Like back in the day, life was the gym. Every day thing was physical from start to finish. Like in a pail of water, like that's literally like you're doing a lateral raise right there. Like with 20 pounds, like everyone's kind of like yoked and in shape. Like and then they're able to take more stress because their body's able to be like not as stressed too. So
I always like using quotes. A body in motion stays in motion. That's number one fundamental rule of physics.
Yeah.
Right? A body in motion stays in motion. So a body, human body, why do we, when we're moving, our blood cells move, everything moves.
Yeah.
Our joints stay fluid.
All this is why you get, people in people living to 100, 120.
But also,
like we're supposed to.
Like we're supposed to.
Yeah. Also, why I am going and picking 60 and 70-year-old people up off the floor that have had a fall and just physically can't get themselves up. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, I'm not hurt. I just can't get up. And I'm like,
literally no muscle tissue left to even do a push-up.
Fuck. Yeah. Are you serious? You're 65 and you can't flip over onto your knees and get up? And they don't have the range of motion or the muscle strength to roll onto their knees and then put one leg up and push. They don't have it, and it blows my mind.
Well, your mom's, if she listens to this one part that you said, my mom's not going to like what I'm going to say here, right? My mom, she's fought cancer twice, raised 4 boys, and
that's a lot.
she's in her 70s now, but. You know what? I am always on her to move. Like me and my 3 brothers and I are always on her to move. Like just move. Like what? She'll sit all day in front of the TV and watch TV. She's fully capable, right? And actually, I'm not going to share this part, but she's fully capable of actually walking upstairs to go to the bathroom. She chooses not to, right? And I just like.
You want me to cut this out, right?
No. Oh. Keep this in.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because my mom will listen to it and it'll just go over her head. Right? That's her mom, right? Yeah. That's a generation, right?
You're like, I hope she's
or she doesn't care. She's like,
exactly. Or she's going to take
right here.
She's going to take her,
your diapers. You're going to clean.
She's going to take her slipper.
Like Dumb and Dumber.
I can see her slipper, the Filipino slipper. Like I can hear it. It's coming my way. It's going to hit me in the back of the head like this, right? And that's what that's what Filipino moms have, right? Like we're right in front of the Filipino consulate there, so I'm bet you she's connected there or something. But anyways, it's all Filipino moms are like that.
Yeah.
Right. Have you ever heard the Jokoy talk about him and his mom wiping herself in front of him?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, right? Like Filipino moms don't care. Yeah. Like whatever, Joseph. Whatever, Jason. It's what they do. But my mom, like seriously, Mom. And she's like, oh, it hurts to walk. Well, it hurts to walk because you only choose to walk when you need to.
It hurts to walk because you've been sitting for so long. You're going to get blood clots.
Your grandchildren are asking you to run with them.
Like I was in Vietnam for vacation for COVID, right before COVID, and we did the there's this cave expedition.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's deep in I forget which city we were in now. It was a bit of a blur, but you have to hike. Like they park in the national park, then you have to hike deep into the cave, and then you spend 2 nights, 3 days there, and then you hike back out. But I remember, like I thought I was in good shape. I'm like, I work out all the time, but like I don't hike ever, right?
Yeah.
But I remember there was this old lady that was like, she literally had like a rough, looked like a rough sack like on her back, and she was just like we're all like tired.
The mountain.
Oh, like and she's just like waving. She didn't have like hiking shoes on, just slippers. And she lives in she lives with one of the families that are allowed to still live in the national park. The country didn't remove them. Yes. So, but they're not completely removed from technology. Like there's electricity over there, and everything. But we find out that lady's like 90 years old.
Yeah, she's an oracle. She's an oracle on that mountain.
Kind of. Yeah. And she, but like that's her routine, and then like we stopped at one point for her to like talk to the guide, to talk to us, basically saying like, my family's lived here for a while, like, we are modern, we do go in the city, but this is still kind of like home base, like, and she's like, I never stopped moving, and like I can move. And she was tiny, don't get me wrong, she was maybe 5'1", but her muscles, like I was looking like, she didn't look like the Incredible Hulk either. Yeah, she was just lean, just her whole body was lean, and it was like her jaw was angular. There's just like I doubt she uses TRT. Like I think she just naturally uses her body. Yeah, like her body, that's an example of living the way our bodies were meant to, right? Absolutely. Like we're meant to be moving, like climbing, squatting, like lifting.
But our bodies are the most amazing machines, and they will do what they need to do if you treat it right.
Yeah, and we're not.
If you're not treating it right.
But that's a societal thing. That's exactly. The way the world is. Like,
fully blame my job on this one. Working nights and being a shift worker.
Oh, 100%.
It's like I've been a weightlifter my entire adult life. And I train twice a week. And I do everything I'm supposed to do. I take all the supplements. I do all the sleep protocols. Yeah. And my hormones are still wildly fucked. And they've been that way since I was in my early 30s. Now I'm in perimenopause, and it's just blown up in my face like you wouldn't believe. I've been on hormone replacement therapy for 12 years now.
Nice. And just to keep everything balanced to where it should be.
Never been able to actually get that balance because I'm still working in a toxic environment. It's a very stressful, traumatizing environment. And honestly, until I quit, that'll continue to perpetuate. Like I did a journey, and I asked my hormones, I said, why are you so off? Yeah. What is it that is going on?
Well, maybe.
And you know what they answered?
It's time for you, yeah.
Do you know what they answered to me? Immediately. We're in a hostile environment. What the fuck do you expect from us?
Yeah, like it's
that's exactly.
It's the young kids do that. Let the young kids do that now.
I need a new job. I need a new job real bad.
Yeah. But like to piggyback off of that, like I really do think we're in a very strange time in all aspects. Like again, using the car analogy, you're a car guy. Like if you're an off-road like a Subaru, and but the car you have a whatever that straight drag racing vehicle, like that's not going to perform out in the desert.
No.
So right now, like as far as our programmings go, you have some nationalities, races, like all forms of background. Like some are more nocturnal than others, like depending on where you are in the world. Like some are acclimated to cold, some are more acclimated to the desert. Like, but now we're all jumbled in this multi pie. So then, like, we might be physically always putting ourselves in scenarios that our body actually, like, we're in the wrong car and the wrong thing, but we're using our mind to like put ourselves into that job. And the end result might be like your hormones can't stabilize because I don't know, maybe your body operates the best when you sleep at night, but then you're doing nocturnal. So like, there's no way it's
you have to listen to your body.
But maybe your body, maybe Jess's body only has adapted the best it can to that, like that's the best
and that's exactly it. I need a new job that pays a lot more.
She needs a new job.
So if anybody has a job for me that pays a lot more than what I'm making,
but in that respect though,
we'll definitely be
but who else would be for the job? Like humans, like they need paramedics, right? I guess no one's physically supposed to be built to be a nocturnal. Yeah, we push ourselves through it.
That's what killed me. Like when I was doing night shifts as a brand new graduate nurse. It killed me. I was, I'd have to say it. Like you always took Benadryl. I took Benadryl because I was doing night shifts. I took Benadryl in the morning.
What's Benadryl?
It's
antihistamine. And
antihistamine.
it also makes you super drowsy, so it's an over-the-counter sleep medication.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what you took to get to sleep.
Yeah, to get to sleep.
Okay.
So I'd work the 11 to 7 shift at night, and then get home.
Take a Benadryl.
So take a Benadryl because it's daytime.
Have a horrible sleep.
Right? And then continue on. And my body did not like this.
Yeah.
Dude,
It only took me 3 months.
Supposed to like
It
it.
only took me 3 months for my body to realize that it doesn't want to do this.
Yeah, you know,
So I decided, okay, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. That's what I got.
I can relate. I'm opening this business, right? Like my hours are all over the place right now, and but right now that's why I'm relying on my Jocko Willing teachings because
Yeah.
I don't remember when I think I talked to you like just over drinks before, but I was explaining like we were talking about this briefly, this exact kind of topic, but
Yeah.
I said to you, I was like, I actually don't care about how I feel.
Yeah.
I just operate from what I have to do, and then I just psychologically choose to be
you're in
happy.
survival mode. That's
Yeah,
when you're in
but
survival
I'm doing that. Yeah, but I'm doing that because I have to right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the beginning stages of my business, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, like
A finite period of time.
Yeah.
There's an end goal, and
Yeah.
then eventually, you're gonna get to a place where that can change.
yeah, like
You're
I'm
right.
not can't sustain.
Business
Yeah.
is always the worst.
Yeah.
First year of business.
So
You passed that, so you got to celebrate that.
yeah, but still, there's still more. Like I get it, but I just some people that's what needs to be done for humanity to because if we all only work perfectly within daytime and go to bed at night,
No.
we wouldn't be
It would never
evolving.
work.
Exactly.
Yeah, we like so that's why I think a lot of mental health is also just this sounds bad, but like you kind of have to realize like we're at the precipice of trying to evolve this thing, so we all got to like kind of like get a little tougher. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
just realize like you don't kind of like you get to feel when you finally get to feel good normally and lines up
Yeah.
with like how you mentally feel. That's a great day,
Yeah.
but for now there's a lot of work to do. Like we kind of have to
And
like
you have to be willing to put the work in.
yeah
Anything in life. You know,
that's
it's
why like I feel like
Yeah.
when you're a kid right now like
Yeah.
like my brother's like four babies all under like 4. They're like yeah, and like right now I'm like hey
Oh,
for
that's
like
right. Yeah,
I'm like have them enjoy the hell of the next 10 years because like that childhood needs to be really like enjoyed because the way the world's flowing once you're like kind of age like there's so much fast-paced responsibility happening here like we need everyone to step it up and like
And that's why I always say in parenting, you have 12 chances. And I say this all the time, 12 chances. From the time that your child is born to the time that they're 12, you have 12 chances to make their Christmases magical.
Mhm.
You have 12 summers to make them magical when they're going through school and all these different things. 12 Christmas plays. 12 recitals or anything.
you feel like 12 is a little high.
No, it's like 0 to 12.
I think it should be 10 because I remember when I was 12 I was entering the 8th grade, so puberty was hitting, and I remember it was all this like
Yeah, but
like
whose money and who's still driving you around until you're 30?
no like they were, but I'm saying I wish I had a great childhood, but
Yeah.
if I can go like I don't have kids right now, but I'm pretty sure I'll have kids in the future, but like when I think like 10 is when I will like really make sure they know like okay I'm pretty sure Santa Claus doesn't exist, but like I'm gonna make damn sure Santa Claus doesn't exist.
I learned, this is how I learned that Santa didn't exist. I learned at the age of 5, right? So, age of 5.
That's kind of sad.
Like coming down the stairs. And so at this time, I just had my 2 brothers, but I came down the stairs and you could hear Christmas Eve, my parents and their Wilco. You're too young to know what Wilco is, I think, right? But Wilco is like Walmart.
Yeah.
Oh,
Walmart.
okay.
So, Wilco became
I'm a
Walmart.
Zellers guy.
Sellers guy. There you go.
Color.
Yeah, Zellers. But anyways, I heard the rustling downstairs. I go downstairs and they're all wrapping up from the Wilco bag, all our presents.
Oh.
Supposed to be on the tree. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to be here. So snuck back into bed, and pretending to be asleep till midnight. And, and my dad was like, hey, look, Santa came around.
Aww.
And we all wake up and open up presents. And I'm looking at my 2 brothers and I'm like, yeah, that's Dad. Dad is Santa.
Did you tell your siblings?
No, I did not. I did not.
How kind
And
of
I
you.
made it a rule not to ruin their Christmas.
Mhm.
Right?
Even at 5, you knew that.
Exactly. And then it was, for my son, I think I was still trying to I was doing like CGI stuff on videos, like capturing on our security video camera that Santa came around.
Yeah.
Because, his buddies in grade 6 told him that Santa didn't exist, right? So, yeah, thanks. So his buddy's in grade 6 that Santa didn't exist, right? And where did they learn that from? From kids that had older siblings that ruined it for them, right?
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, but regardless, 0 to 12 is the rule, because by the time they turn 13, they go into their teenage years, they want to be independent little adults, small adults, and they will try to prove it to you, right? So from the time that they're born to the time they're 12, if you have the blessing of becoming a parent, make sure that you basically create those memories for them.
Yeah,
because they'll end up choosing one to hang out with.
But I'll hold on. I got a thought on this. So one of my like, he was my best friend. We just kind of lost touch. There's a bit more history to it, but he had a horrible childhood. I think I was mentioning earlier, this guy, like we're same age, but simultaneously, like, so I met him in the 4th grade. Okay. Didn't get close to him until about grade, saw him around grade 7, 8, and 9, but got close at grade 10, became best friends, and then went through a lot. But like, so his childhood was just horrendous. We're talking about, there was like sexual abuse. Okay. There was like dad abandoning the family. He wasn't even from this country. Like, he was from Russia, and he came over, and like, he had no childhood. His entire thing was just a gong show. But I remember, though, like, growing up, even junior high school, like, he was just a man before everyone was a boy.
Absolutely.
Like, and
he had to grow up really fast.
Yeah, and like, I remember everyone looked up to that because he was just so much smarter. He was jacked right away. He was just like, and like, he was just like super. He was super alpha. But you're like, it was a facade because like he got a lot of female attention too, because he had this like masculine presence. But as the years wore on, I remember mid-20s was when one day, like, we were bouncing at the same nightclub. So I was 20, we were 24, but like I just, one day there was just like, we were in fights before, but there's this one time I saw him rage out on a guy. Yeah. And then, like, later on that night, like, we were hanging out after him, kind of like, hey, like, you went a bit heavy on buddy there. Yeah. And then he's like, man, like, he's like, I don't know what's going on with me. Like, I need some space. And then as the months progressed, he started having suppressed memories come back from like, cause like, he didn't know at that point that he had like sexual abuse and this and that. Yeah. And then one day I remember he started spiraling hard. Like, he went from being like put together to, and but all I'm trying to say with him was like he ultimately used psilocybin and ayahuasca, and he's way better now. And that was a long journey with that, to the point where I don't even know what he's doing anymore. He's kind of AWOL. No, it's very typical of what we hear. Yeah, but I do want to say though, like, but growing up, I remember we talked about our childhoods, because he kept saying to me, because he saw my family life, and he was saying like, man, you're soft. Like, it's like, you're not going to handle like real problems once you're out of the house, because you have no adversity. And truth is, my adversity didn't hit till around 10. Like, my first 10 years was this perfect bubble, right? Yeah. But I'm starting to realize, I'm like, but we do need adversity, because people are too soft right now. That's why they can't handle. That's also contributing to the problem of mental health, right? So I'm like, what's the balance here?
Exactly. Like, and you bring up such an interesting point, because I'm seeing this within the paramedic profession right now. So when you are a child and you were looking after your parents and your needs aren't met and you've experienced abuse and on and on and on, you start to develop this skewed sense of self. You have no sense of self, but you also believe that you have no value. And you start to realize, especially when you're parentified, that your value comes from what you do for other people, because sometimes that's the only time that you receive any positive reinforcement. So for little girls, that looks like helping, cleaning the house, looking after your siblings, doing the groceries, doing the laundry, taking care of your mom, taking care of your dad. Oh, you're such a good little girl. And for little boys, that can look like being the man of the house and being tough and not crying and being good at sports and getting good grades and helping dad. And so your sense of self becomes so skewed because it's external of you. So you don't realize that you have inherent value and you were born with it, and you are the value. What you learn is that my value is what I do for other people. And I'm only valuable if I'm doing something. So let's pick the most valuable something. So these people get into EMS, they get into fire, they get into CPS, they get into the military. And oftentimes you'll see with law enforcement and military, they've had extensive abuse. and this is their way of being able to maintain control and be the good guy, right, and right some wrongs.
You nailed the hammer. I had a podcast. Shout out Lonnie Kroll. He was one of my guests. He was like a longtime cop, runs a police college now, but it was his origin story was right out of a comic book. It was this traumatic, incident where like the cops had to come in to save him and his siblings from his parents going nuts on each other, and like they're scared shitless. What I'm
talking about.
And then he took that, but it's interesting how like first responders are all from they're superheroes kind of. They had that origin story,
the hero they needed. That they didn't have in childhood.
Exactly.
The problem with that is that you have also this group of people that are highly academically proficient at their jobs, but they have no emotional intelligence because they were never able to develop it. So when they start to experience issues and trauma at work, they don't have the capacity or the skills to deal with it.
They're behind, literally, compared to people who've gone through some real shit. Well, that's why nowadays some people don't get the right Starbucks. Like that is over.
There's a different point that I'm trying to make. So what happens with the generation that has a lot of childhood trauma is they don't know how to hold space for themselves. They don't know how to sit with their emotions. They don't know how to emotionally regulate. They're very emotionally immature. So when it comes to trauma, they have no idea how to help themselves or what to do. And they revert back to the age that they were when they incurred the most trauma. And you'll see it when they're in conflict situations. They turn into fucking children. It's one of the worst things about paramedics is they turn into children when there's a conflict. Now, the piece of that's interesting is that they're super tolerant of the trauma that is sustained to them through the job. So they'll go a decade, 2 decades before they realize they have PTSD because they'll just keep hammering through it because that's what they had to do in their childhoods. And now we have this new generation that has experienced no adversity in their childhoods, and they're being traumatized their first fucking call.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that are having meltdowns in Starbucks. Those are the ones that are being dropped off by mom and dad, and the ambulance is the first vehicle they've ever driven. That's happening in Calgary, by the way.
I read.
Really?
Just so we're clear.
Really?
It's I mean, a lot of historians are saying like the collapse of Rome was at the point where it was too good, right? Mm-hmm. So now it's kind of bad, and
it's kind of bad, but it's also an opportunity.
It really is.
Yeah, it's kind of sad though because for instance, I look at my bro's kids right now. They're so cute, and I'm like, and they're great parents right now. I'm not saying they're not bad parents, but I'm like, man, but what are the chances they're going to be tough? It's just like I mean, maybe they will. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, but it's just that adversity, that post World War II generation raising everyone here is because they probably made their kids a bit tougher, because they just went through World War II,
made them really tough? Being forced to wear a mask.
Is that a joke?
During COVID. No, I think that's their most traumatic thing.
Yeah. Right. There's a difference between toughness and resiliency. Okay, toughness is I'm just going to keep powering through. Resiliency is that I'm going to have some mental flexibility and I'm going to move through this with some grace. Whereas toughness is I'm just going to double down. I'm going to talk the hell out of myself and I'm going to get through this. So the older generation of first responders is not tough. They're fucking tough. But the problem is when they crash big. And then they get termed treatment resistant. And it's honestly, they're not treatment resistant. They're not being given the right treatments. B, no one is addressing their childhoods. If you address their childhoods, you'll notice that all of a sudden their ability to heal their PTSD, and yes, you can heal PTSD, their ability to heal their PTSD is much, much, much different, but you have to address the childhood issues. This new generation of paramedics who's getting dropped off at work with their lunch kit, their mom's packed, and they don't actually have a vehicle, and the ambulance is the first thing they've ever driven, they go to one call, and that's the end of it. A supervisor talks to them with the wrong tone, and that's the end of it. Their partner bullies them.
They have to take leave from work.
Have they shown potential though to catch up though, or not really? Or are they just quitting? Or are they just quitting and just performing like garbage, and then bringing down the standard?
And this isn't only happening with paramedics. It happens in everybody that has a job, or a boss, right? If you don't have to be a paramedic. You can be working at the coffee shop, right? The supervisors if the supervisor yells or has used the wrong word,
Yeah.
or even uses the wrong term, he, she, they, whatever,
Yeah.
they'll be offended, and they can go home and not want to go back to work, and they get paid
Exactly.
if they have those benefits. If that company has those benefits,
Absolutely.
and most companies like a Starbucks have those benefits.
One thing I will
It's
say,
crazy.
credit to the younger generation that I am encountering, because I don't want to shit talk them, because I
No,
have to
I'm
work
not.
with
We're
them.
not shit talking. We're just saying.
One thing
This
I
is
will
what's happening
say,
right now.
because they have been raised by parents who met their needs and taught them about their emotions, their level of emotional intelligence is oftentimes quite a bit higher.
Absolutely.
The weak ones, no, but the one there's quite often I'm sitting across from a young man who is, I'm old enough to be his mother.
Mhm.
And when I start talking to him, I'm just amazed at his
He's
level.
wise. He's actually wise.
Yeah, but emotional intelligence, not because trauma has wizened him up,
Yeah.
but because he has a high level of emotional intelligence. And same for the young women. And I'm just like, thank fucking God something good's happening.
And I do agree. There's a spectrum for sure. I've seen it too. I've seen like great like phenoms, like 21 just killing it, and they're like, I'm like, man, like you're the great hope. But then I've seen the opposite where I'm like, ew, like like it's.
And I'm gonna bring my modern data experience into this, right? Because it's known that I am dating different people, right, with different ages.
Mhm.
We have a dating book here, right? So
we really talk about this.
Yeah, we'll talk about no more Mr. Nice Guy on this one. But anyways, I'm just talking about this generational thing.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about employee-employer relationships, but also like relationships in general, right? When I owned my business, I knew that a certain generation, a certain decade would request certain things, would ask for certain things, and want certain things. It's no different when you're dating women of different decades, right? You date your women in their 40s. We date women in their 30s.
Wow, you're
20s.
you're just like, it's gonna be curious to see how you are like 10 years from now. You're gonna have so much more wisdom. Like yo, I'm not saying you're not wise now, but like look at it.
Not wise now.
Well, because most people aren't doing that. They're not dating like 3 generations.
Some official research while you're at it, buddy.
Doing official research. But it's just my, I love meeting people and I love learning about people, and I think this is what's going to make me a really good coach with psilocybins, and helping people through their stories and through their trauma and their journeys. It's, I just love to listen to people's stories and how they become successful, because I learn from them. Right?
See, like,
I never stop learning. I can learn from a 21-year-old. Exactly.
It's a really important.
Yeah, that's what I mean, Jason. Like your first half of your life with your family, like when when the divorce happened, everything, like, and your business like had to shut down. Like, look at the second chapter now. Like you're actually in a cocoon.
Yeah.
Watch as you get back on your feet entirely with these kind of experiences. Like you kind of evolve into a whole other person now. So like that's a literal example of like resilience, because if you just offed yourself back in that first, you didn't see the full gamut of what potentially could happen, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's like and in many ways I can relate to, because I'm doing that in my own way, right? Yeah. Like it's like it's just, you gotta like just be resilient, and sometimes those conflicts, like that's what I mean by, I'm not saying toughen up like classic.
They harden us,
like,
though. They sharpen us.
They should sharpen you. I like that. I like sharpening. Hardening is
you're creating a diamond.
Yeah, and it needs to be that way. Like, so I don't know. I feel like we're in this huge like transition period. Like we're going through a soft phase. It's kind of gross in certain ways, but we kind of have to ride this out, because it should course correct. Because if it doesn't, we will be doomed.
Exactly.
It would just.
There's doers and there's complainers. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we can complain about all the things that COVID has left us, or we can count them as blessings. Right? Like you said, the blessing that COVID left, and the lesson that they've left us. So they're all lessons.
And, you're not going to initially view it like that, because a shock is going to be overwhelming.
Absolutely.
But that's where things like psilocybin help, because as you
shift your perspective.
Yeah.
This happened to me, or hey, wow, that's an interesting perspective. Maybe I need to see that differently in a way that's actually helpful.
And so thanks again to Mexico for me being stuck there in Mexico during COVID.
Yeah.
Right? After my divorce and me trying to find answers to peyote ceremonies.
I
Right?
mean, Mexico was transformational for me too.
That's
so
crazy.
yay, Mexico.
Yeah. But it was actually done by, shaman, like a shaman couple. And it started at 11 o'clock at night. And the ceremony that we did, the first time I did it, my friends that I was staying with, they came at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, checking to see if I was still okay, right? But we were still there was 20 of us in this group that did the ceremony, right? And I was like, oh, this is great, this is wonderful. I was reading about all these different healing methods, and then they welcomed me and they said, you know what? Why don't you join us next week? We're going to be on the other side of Mexico, the island. So they're going to be in Sayulita, right? And then the first part that I met them was in, I can't remember, just outside Puerto Vallarta as well. You can only get there by water taxi, right? But anyways, I joined this group, right, for this ceremony the second time, and it just introduced me to the medicine, and and they call it the medicine, and now I know why, right?
Is the medicine.
And then I got back here, and I was like, I thought I had all the answers, and then I just spiraled even more, right? And then when I was able to get out of it was when I realized, hey, you know what? Nobody can help me. Nobody but me. And if I take the learnings from that, those ceremonies, I know that I'm better today than I was yesterday.
Well, that's a testament to why there's there's a lot of good hope in your life, because I hate to say, when you look at a homeless guy in the street, so that's someone who potentially went through what you went through, had the trauma, but just couldn't get through it. That they would rather just escape and retreat. And you're seeing that a lot, not just
opportunity, but
in the end, it's choice by choice, right? And it's hard as hell. It's hard because everything's going to be hard, and you gotta be patient. You gotta be patient because it's not on your timing either. There's so many factors moving around, right? It's so. Yeah, but it just goes down to that fundamental thing. Just don't quit. When we say quit, I mean don't quit in life.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't just shove it. Keep pushing. Life is 3D, man. It's not linear.
Yeah, you're going to be thrown a whole bunch of curveballs. Life's it's going to be good, going to be bad, or whatever. You know what? I've learned from my lessons, and there's some lessons in this book.
Yes.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Holy shit!
Let's bring this book up.
It's just incredible.
Is super cool.
This book, I tell you. So I just want to say real quick before we move on to this, psychedelics are the single biggest gift that we will ever be given for humanity, ever. I'm just going to finish there.
Plant-based medicines, thank you. Woo! Going back to the book. Yes. Okay. All right.
Should we start over?
Yeah, everyone had a bathroom break, by the way.
Yeah, we had a bathroom break.
Feel much better.
Break. Excellent. We're just comfortable now. No More Mr. Nice Guy is one of the books that you brought in. There's one of two books. Jessica, please tell us about this book.
So this book is written by a male psychotherapist. He's a PhD, and I believe he has about 30 years of experience working with men and couples. And he started to notice this phenomenon of men coming in with the same complaints. They had the same problems, the same level of resistance, very similar childhoods. And he also realized that he was one of them. So they were in unsatisfying marriages. They weren't getting as much sex as they thought they should. And when they were having sex, it was mediocre. They were in jobs that weren't really fulfilling them. And they were not reaching their full potential.
This is in the U.S., just for all over the world. Okay. And when was this written again? So I'm just gonna.
That's a great question. I actually don't know when the initial one came out. I believe it was several years ago.
Okay, so it's pretty modern. So it's pretty modern.
It is modern. I wouldn't say it's necessarily new. I don't know when the first edition was published. This is a second edition or a reprint. But he noticed that there was a lot of similarities, and they also saw them in himself. So he decided that the only way for this to change was for him to do a deep dive into his own psyche and to start taking accountability for himself so that he could change the rest of his life. And so what he talks about in this book is all the different behaviors that, these nice guys use to try and get their needs met and to try and have the life that they, think they want, but in the meantime, they're constantly sabotaging themselves.
Yeah.
And at the root of it is childhood trauma. So what he does is he helps you uncover what that trauma looks like and how it manifests in your adult life. He helps you with tools to heal, tools for accountability, which is a huge piece. And he names things so that you can finally identify them, like, oh, this is what's going on.
And the great thing about this book here is, even for ADHD readers, like I'm an ADHD reader, you're an ADHD
very
reader.
Much so.
ADHD readers, we like to start the book, we never finish a book, right? This one, you can actually do it right now. You can open up to a random page, read something, and it kind of gives our listeners kind of a the lessons are within it. Here we go.
You want me to read this?
Yeah, read it. Read it out loud. Yeah.
All right. The post-war era. So post-World War II.
We were just talking about that earlier. Yeah.
Boys were disconnected from their fathers and other healthy male role models, and boys were forced to seek approval from women and accept a female definition of what it means to be male. As a result of those two dynamics, many boys and men came to believe that they had to hide or eliminate any negative male traits, like those of their fathers or other quote-unquote bad men, and become what they believed women wanted them to be.
Captain America?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For many men, this life strategy seemed essential if they wanted to be loved, get their needs met, and have a smooth life.
There we go.
Right?
Post-war era.
He just hits the nail on the head with every single thing that he says. He doesn't waste words. He gets to the point. And I think the really beautiful thing about this book is not only does he help men identify what's holding them back, but he gives you skills to change it. It's one thing to know about it, but if you don't know how to fix it, you don't know what to do differently. That's one thing he talks about. You have to do something differently if you want a different outcome. Mm-hmm. And he helps men make those changes. And really at the core of those changes is accountability to self, self-compassion and self-love, developing a healthy relationship with oneself. And a really key piece to this, which I think is very much missing in our society today, is developing a community of men that have a similar mentality and want to grow as humans. Because
we as men, traditionally, and still to this day, there's a large chunk of us that don't think we need therapy.
Yeah.
And so I think this book, if you think whether you think you need therapy or you don't need therapy, read the book.
Read the book.
Right? If you're not happy with one aspect of your life, read the book.
Read the friggin' book, because I guarantee you he's going to touch on it. He's going to
touch on something.
Yeah. And the thing I love about this book is it's really about learning how to take care of yourself as a man and defining what masculinity looks like for you.
Self-love for yourself.
Yeah. Taking care of yourself, meeting your own needs. There's so much to it. And developing a community of like-minded men so that you can have healthy masculine relationships, because that's a huge piece of what's missing for men.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you what, the men that I work with, so many of them come to me and they say, oh, I'm an athlete, I'm attractive, I make good money, I have a great job, but you know what, I'm fucking miserable. Mm-hmm. And I'm alone. And I know almost instantly they have an avoidant attachment style, they have trauma in their childhoods, and they have shallow relationships with their friends. So I ask them, what do you talk to your friends about? Hockey, golf, baseball.
Guys never get into it. We're in a guy's locker room. We see each other, naked, scratching our balls, whatever. But we don't talk. We don't talk. We don't.
No.
We go for drinks. We drink beer. We, talk about our kids. Talk about our wives.
It's killing you guys.
You guys don't bond when you guys do something like hockey together?
But bond to what level?
Bond to what level?
I know. Well, I guess it just means like, well, say you're playing hockey and you literally took a puck in the face for your buddy, and like you kind of created like an artificial
sure, but
but you don't get into the weeds.
There's no emotional
with your buddies. There's we do it very little.
Yeah. There's no depth to those relationships, and what happens is you're missing out on intimate connection. And as soon as people hear intimate, they think sex, and that's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. When you are missing out on deep, meaningful connection with your peers, that is a huge chunk of what makes life wonderful. It's what provides joy. It's what provides depth to your life and substance to your life. And if you don't have that, man, these guys feel so alone. And the amount of them that come to me that are so deeply depressed, even though they've done everything society's told them to do and they can't figure out what they're doing wrong, And then they realize how goddamn lonely they are.
Yeah.
And that if they want that to change, that they're going to have to change the way that they are.
This has been my bottom line message for every man that's out there. And yeah, like, dude, like I've gone through a divorce. I'm going through, I'm going through bankruptcy. I'm going through all this financial stuff, but I'm rebuilding.
You're handling like a fucking champ.
I wanted to check out a few times.
You're handling it like a champ.
And there's a guy that we're raising, like there's a movie, Check Engine, which you've met them as well. And so the story that Check Engine is loosely based on one of our buddies, right? That, we all got bikes together, all motorcycles together, and unfortunately he's going through a divorce as well at the same time, and he didn't make it. Right? So our buddy, one of our buddies has written the story. They're producing it, and they're raising money to make this check engine film, right? So that's men's mental health, guys. I am just a huge advocate of it.
Likewise,
you're a huge advocate of it.
And one message that I need to say is that, and I need men to hear this from a woman: we need you.
Absolutely,
we need men.
Yep.
We need men that love themselves, because men that love themselves show up in the way that we need, and men that love themselves aren't going to harm anyone else. And that's just speaking from my own experience. But
absolutely,
having said that,
that's what's making my dating game even better these days, is what I got to say. We're going to go on to the next book. What time does it say on there? Right?
We need men.
Yeah.
We need you. So
modern dating, 8 dates. It's something about, I find that when I'm out there, it is lonely not having a partner, a female partner to be with, like to share stories at the end of your day and stuff with, like that you had in your marriage or whatever relationship for like however long, right? So there's women on that end of the story, and there's men on that end of the story too. So like you said, you need men, we need women as well that can
show up,
understand, and show up and realize this.
Yeah.
So
sounds like you need men to be men again, so women can like
be safe.
kind of like, I'm not saying this in a sexist way, but like women would prefer to,
they want a man
to follow someone's lead in that realm, in the personal realm.
When I was going through my marriage therapy, like that was
because they have less responsibility.
That my wife complained about. She goes, I'm a real man.
Yeah.
I need a real man. And I looked at her and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Right? You need a real man.
You know what's interesting though, Jason? Like, in hindsight, say you went through what you went through back then with your knowledge now, and say you're, because like I can kind of relate with that relationship that I had where when it derailed, like when I had to look back honestly with myself, like I wasn't, like at home I wasn't showing confidence, certainty, leadership. I wasn't showing like centeredness. I was acting more like a kid, right?
Yeah,
I was acting more like a wild, like
so. Kid came out of it.
So like, but imagine you go through that again now, but with this, she probably, I'm not saying it would have worked out, but like she'd probably look at it differently, because like a lot of it is in your brain. Like for instance, like did you end up arguing with her when she was like saying, "Hey, I need a man"? You're like, "Oh, I am a man." You know what I mean? Like,
this was in therapy.
It's like
she never expressed this with us, like at home.
Well, it's because they didn't.
$400 an hour for therapy.
Yeah.
For her to get
well, also like I've come to realize, like women, they don't want to have to say that, right? Because it kills everything. Because like once you shine the light on it, it's like they're giving enough clues still to be like, please, for the love of God, figure this out. Yeah.
We'll tell you over and over and over. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest turn-ons is meeting a man who can repair during conflict. I have yet to meet a man like that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna. My dating history is a minefield of trauma. I've been single for the last 2 years, and I have zero interest in dating. Yeah. But I'll tell you, a really big turn on for me is someone with a high level of emotional intelligence and someone who knows how to repair during conflict, because that creates the safety. That's the safety that we're talking about. You can be safe all day long, but if you can't be safe when we have conflict and you can't come back and repair with me, it doesn't matter how masculine you are. It doesn't matter.
What you're asking for is not the little boy, little boy that comes out and starts.
You can't show up in a conflict.
It's funny. Like
show up a man, show up an adult.
Like I
emotionally intelligent one.
And both people have to show up. But both people have to show up as an adult.
But that's when, like, the guy has to initiate that. I feel like it's like that's something I didn't do in the past either. It's like
I initiated repair.
you'd
I'd probably fucking pass it.
Would you recognize it? Would you recognize it?
well, like when
What does it look like to you?
well, the guy usually
What does it look like to you?
if you're like if a guy's like if you're in a conflict with your girlfriend or spouse or whatever, like, and all of a sudden, like, instead of fighting, you start teasing her, like in a like goofy way, kind of like.
Okay.
Yeah, like
is that how you want?
You bring it back to lighthearted, but because it's all good, so like you just have to like get her back to just having fun.
Yeah.
But what if
you do it by having fun?
What if you've gotten into a point in your relationship? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm trying, but what if you got into your point in a relationship that you that comical banter, right? That you're calling, right? Make joke of it, and it just gets thrown back and forth. It's like, okay, you're throwing a knife now. Okay, I'm going to throw a bigger knife.
Well, that's when you walk away sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You just say, hey, look, when you're ready to talk, I'm ready to talk.
So that's what therapists teach you. This is what therapists teach you in relationship communication. What if the other person
took me a while
gotten to that point yet?
Dude, it took me a long time to get there, though. Because I remember, with that one relationship ending, it was like, the more knives she threw, and like the more I reacted.
Yes.
And tried to hurt back, and then I expect to make her feel better after I just hurt her back. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
knives in a conflict also isn't a healthy way to have a conflict either. So what are you supposed to do when someone's throwing knives at you?
You walk away.
You walk away.
Yeah,
but to me, repair isn't walking away, because my ex was an avoidant.
Okay. See, here we go.
This is the thing. Avoidant tendencies.
Yeah.
But
do you walk away for a week? I mean, like when I said walk away, I mean
a week to 2 weeks.
Oh my god.
He would take
I just mean for like 20 minutes.
So here's the difference. Emotional intelligence. So here's the difference between an avoidant and emotional intelligence, because I have a lived experience PhD in this.
Okay.
An avoidant takes off for a week, 2 weeks, makes no indication of when they're coming home, doesn't tell you that you're safe, doesn't tell you that they still want to be in a relationship with you and they just need time, avoids talking about it, stands you up multiple times in a row when you want to talk about what the problem is, and it's not even a big problem.
But if you take couples therapy, the Gottmans, whose book you have right here.
Okay, what I need to say about emotional intelligence is, I'm highly charged right now and I'm not my best self. So can I have an hour to calm down so I can come back to this conversation 100%. When I feel better? I promise you, I love you. This is not the end of our relationship. And we will resume this conversation in an hour or an hour and a half when we feel like we're good, we're our best self.
The tough part about that is if they're drunk, though. Because
then you can't do that when
you have to wait till the next day.
You do.
You have to wait till like the next day, and then
you've got
the next day, like
sober.
Because like if they're hungover too, then you're like, now they're on the mood.
You're hungry, whatever.
It literally got to be those kind of conflicts. You actually got to wait a whole week, or you can address it.
This is why I traveled lots. I traveled lots when I knew that there's conflict, between my wife and I.
So this book that we wanted, the Gottmans. So it's John and his wife, both PhDs, and then the Abrams. So this is basically for anyone that's in a relationship or anyone that's thinking about getting into a relationship. It's 8 dates that have specific conversations, and these conversations have been shown to be the indicator of whether a couple will make it long term or not. So this is, again, for people who have been married for 30 years and people who are just starting to date. So the first date is a discussion about trust and commitment. The second date, if I can find it here. So there's 8 different topics that you would sit and talk to this person about and have an in-depth conversation.
All I'm calculating is 8 $100 dates.
I know.
$800 per person to qualify a person?
It's so much cheaper than a divorce.
True.
And therapy.
True that.
And you actually know what you're getting into.
True that. Okay.
Addressing conflict, which to me is a deal breaker. If you cannot show up as an adult in conflict and repair on both sides, both men and women, or men and women, whatever, it's irrelevant. Yes. You can have all the fucking greatness in the world. If you can't repair in conflict, none of it matters. Yeah. Sex and intimacy. Having a conversation about what healthy sex and intimacy looks like for you. For me, that means being able to say no. Without being guilted. For me, that means being able to be naked with somebody without them wanting to pressuring me to have sex. To take naked baths together and watch a movie in the tub, to make out without somebody trying to shove their hand down my pants. Like that, if you're doing any of those things, I'm going to be fucking, no, thank you, no. Respect for myself.
Potential quarters, taking note.
Right? And the thing is, I really enjoy having sex. I'm one of those people that really enjoys it. So if you treat me with respect and you honor my boundaries, we will have no issues in the bedroom. But those are things that I need to be able to say immediately, right? Because those are things that have absolutely been ran over in the past.
So I got a quick question on well, hold on, just specify more, just from my understanding. Just I'm just curious about. But foreplay, like it sounds like you're interested in some foreplay, but not sex sometimes.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yes, usually, and a lot of women are. A lot of women would love to just know that they're safe to be naked, and someone isn't going to try and shove a wiener in them or play with their boobies. Like, can I just be naked around you?
But us guys,
I thought the foreplay is always to set up right into. Maybe I'm giving too much away on my sex life, because like it always leads to that, and it's always awesome.
Yes, yeah.
There's a very good chance it will lead to stuff.
Because like if like what story Jess as well, like Beyonce's Jess, but it's like because if I start foreplay and I don't go all the way to sex, like and then she has her version of female blue balls going, right? Yes. So again.
And she sex is something she wants.
That's true. We have clear understanding. Yeah, like she wouldn't.
You have to be able.
She's not going to come up to me and like kind of like start touching my crotch and then be like, bye. Yeah, and be like, whoa. Like,
no, but that's
either we're going into it or we're.
And those are conversations and those are experiences that you have with every partner.
It's all, but it does vary. It does
vary. It's called intimacy. No, it's called intimacy.
Yeah, it varies because like what Jess here said.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different. It's different rules for different people. Like it's all the thing.
I'm a rape survivor, so for me, being able to just be naked without anyone wanting something from me, with no expectation that I'm going to put out because I'm naked, that allows me to feel safe being intimate with you without knowing that I have to put out because you're expecting it. That is such a huge deal for me. I can't begin to tell you what
it's with lots of women.
Again, tell me if I'm wrong here. But for you. It sounds like with your dynamics, like you have to initiate sex. It sounds like
I actually appreciate men initiating sex as well. So don't get me wrong. This what I'm talking about isn't all the time. It is just part of establishing a healthy intimacy and sexual relationship. Is knowing that I can be naked without somebody expecting me to have sex with them.
It's a safety.
The flip side of that is
they want to be safe.
I just want to be safe
and comfortable.
So I guess like what I'm saying in your dynamic, maybe like, and it's not a bad thing. Like, so it's like if that was made clear, it's like okay, they understand. Like, because like for instance, you say you might be say you're with a man who's like just has a high libido anyway. Like, it's good that that's the situation because he's ready to go no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's easier if it's like in our situation, it's like if you were in that, it's like. Just let me let you know when it's a go, right? Otherwise any form of fooling around, even like a light booby grab or whatever, like just know like unless I escalate to the next one, like because like I've had trauma, I've been raped, so it's like and the dude if he's like that's one thing though, if a man's healthy he's ready to have sex all the time anyway, so it really is ultimately the women just. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready to eat I'm hungry all the time, basically.
Here's the thing:
that's the way I see it.
If I feel safe with you, then the chances are I'm going to want to have sex with you.
Right.
It's pretty rare that I don't.
Yeah.
Right? It's pretty extent. Like I'm tired, I've had a bad day, whatever. But if I feel safe with you, I'm going to be attracted to you. So when you initiate sex with me, I'm absolutely going to want to have sex with you.
And you always have to remember there's 1 week. You always have to remember there's 1 week out of the month.
Shark Week.
That you have Shark Week that you just have to cancel out. You will always get a no, right?
Unless in the
and you got to be okay with that. No, but it's got to be it's got to be their comfort level as well. It's got to be their comfort level as well, right?
Although I wouldn't date a guy that was uncomfortable with my period.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a red flag,
right? So it's like but
I have lots of red flags now.
But it's this is the thing about being emotionally intelligent, but also, emotionally mature, to equally mature in a sexual relationship.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and that needs to happen.
And unfortunately, it takes
you can only
a lot of fucking up to get to that maturity too.
It does.
Or it also takes, just
not all
taking a lot of time to know the person.
And that's the biggest mistake I made in my last relationship, was that dismissive avoidants are incredibly gifted at pretending to be a secure attachment style. For about the first 6 to 8 months, they are brilliant chameleons.
Yeah.
I have a high level of discernment, and I had no idea. And then 8 months comes along, and all of a sudden there's a fucking wobble in the car, and you're like, oh shit.
There it is.
Oh shit.
There it is. Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
And I had no idea, right? And without talking for the next hour about all of it, needless to say, it was highly traumatizing to me, because this person that I thought that I was my person that I was going to marry and spend the rest of my life with turned out to be just a proficient liar and a manipulator and highly emotionally abusive, although he would never admit to that.
And he hid it for 80 days?
For 8 months.
8 months. That's a long time. How often did you see him in the 8 months?
Oh, we lived together.
Crazy.
He's a cop, so he's a proficient liar.
Yeah.
But, so one of the biggest mistakes I made was that I fell in love with him too quickly. If I had taken my time to really get to know him, and this is this other biggest lesson that I learned, I wasn't paying attention to his behavior. I was listening to
Love
his
makes you
words.
blind. Love makes
And
you
his
blind.
words and his behavior were telling me different stories. But because I was so in love with him,
Mhm.
because I fell in love with him quickly, if I had to actually look at his behavior, then I would have to accept the truth of the fact that he had no intention of following through on any of the things that he said to me.
But when love makes you blind, you are
sorry.
looking for the other possibility.
I was always being hopeful. I had
exactly.
fucking rose-colored glasses on,
And he
I
was
followed him through hell, and I would have kept following him.
and he was probably at the time like in his illusion portraying the most masculinity
Correct.
that you've seen.
Lying
Yeah.
to himself,
Right.
proficiently lying to himself, and really giving me the version of him that he really wanted to be,
Did
But
something
was
happen?
unwilling to become.
But did something happen in that 8 month span in his career?
No,
That
it
like
was the fact. So he'd been basically living with me because it was during COVID, and at the 8 month mark, we talked about him officially moving in with me and giving up his apartment. So it was the idea of not having a backup plan. And I should have been paying attention to that, because he always had one foot out.
oh
He never posted any pictures of me on Instagram
oh yeah.
Oh,
or social media. He
Okay.
didn't tell his friends, who I've been working with for the last 20 years on the street. None of them knew we were dating.
Oh.
The most, I met a small handful of people. He kept me isolated from the rest.
So what was his trauma then when you finally? Yeah.
Related to his mother. We had similar mothers, both probably borderline personality disorder, but his manifested very differently than mine.
Mm.
And I should have been paying attention to that. When a man is unwilling to, doesn't want to, I felt like I was a hidden dirty secret. And I felt like shit, because as a kid, I was bullied incessantly, and I was told how ugly I was and how I should go kill myself and how no one would ever love me.
kids are mean.
Yeah, I know. Where'd you grow up?
Vauxhall.
Where's that?
Thank you to all you
Small Alberta. Small town Alberta.
Banjo. I should say that.
Is that
There's a lot of very nice people in
is it northwest?
Southeast.
Southeast.
Between Tabor and Brooks. And so I was told on a regular basis, Medusa, which is why I have a Medusa tattoo. You're so ugly, you turn everyone to stone when you look at them.
Jeez.
So then when you're dating somebody who's hiding you, and you have a personality like mine that isn't for everybody, you're like, oh my God, he's hiding me. I wonder why he's hiding me. Is it because I'm not pretty enough? Is it because I'm not nice enough? Is it because I'm not? And you just feel like shit.
Do you know the Medusa tattoo also represents that you've been sexually assaulted?
Well, I have been. So, but to me, the Medusa.
I actually want to get a Medusa tattoo, but for different reasons. It's to protect, basically, there's also significance of it's protecting yourself from evil women or bad women. So,
But that's the thing. Medusa was cursed because she was so beautiful.
Exactly.
They were so jealous of her that they cursed her.
Yeah.
And so she owns I got a half sleeve. She earned that spot. But anyways, so when somebody hides you, that's a big indication. That's a red flag. But he did, the first 8 months, he showed up every time he said he would.
Yeah.
He planned dates. We both had.
Well, he had a mission. There was a mission.
Right? We both
mission
had
to be
our
himself or trying to figure himself. So it's all good.
activities. We maintained our own lives. We didn't withdraw from our friends. We didn't withdraw from the things we enjoyed. I thought it was like the healthiest, happiest relationship I'd ever been in until it wasn't. Yeah. And it was a big fucking shock to me. And this is something I've heard from lots of people that dated avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
It is shock when things go badly because
So
you don't see it coming.
There's a lot of titles to, the different people that we can date. And I think we're going to touch on that in a future podcast.
Yes.
Right? Because there's tons that we've covered today.
Yes.
And I think we've just gone back to full circle to saying, it's our childhood trauma that creates the person that we are today.
Yes.
Through, mindfulness, through medicines and ceremonies like this, there are other opportunities to be healed if you're seeking kind of healing. There are other opportunities for you to explore your mental health than the traditional way.
You have so many options.
Exactly.
Most people have no idea that you have so many options. There's so much more than what they're telling you.
Yeah.
So please believe me that you have far more opportunities and options to heal in a way that works for you than you think you do.
And there's, and it's like, if you're feeling lonely, right, with this dating thing, this modern dating, hey, guess what? You know what? You have to love yourself first. Love yourself first. That self-love piece that you were talking about first. Be happy, and I call this my happily single mode.
Yeah.
Everything else follows. Focus on yourself. Focus on your goals. Focus on your rebuilding. Focus on your healing. Whatever. And sometimes you need a guide. And
you do.
You're a guide for that. And,
thank you. I
the podcast that we're doing here, I've always mentioned it. We talk about, us being in this room. It's like therapy for each of us. This is talk therapy, right? Because you brought up parts of your life. You brought up parts of your life. I'm bringing up parts of my life. And, I'll have to say, hey, you know what? I'm glad that I'm talking about it. I'm glad you guys are listening, right? And that's what therapy is, provides with us.
I never thought the podcast would be, therapy
neither.
style every time. Not every time, but like, no, but it's not.
You said it. Okay, now I'm just thinking.
No. But like, that's not a bad thing because like, there's a whole genre.
Yeah.
But the reality is, that's why I love doing this because like when you're in when you're in a podcast, you're way more dialed in on the conversation versus if we were just having beers at the table.
Exactly.
Like we're actually like paying attention fully. Yeah, intentional. Like, and you're properly listening and responding versus like, where else do you create that? That's why like with my show, like I'm now 150 now and it's been awesome. Yeah. Cause like each time I meet cool people from all walks of life and like how else would I have gotten to have that conversation with them without setting it up in the form of a podcast? Like it's just highly unlikely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So thanks again to you, Shawn.
Yes,
Shawn.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
Instagram is at CAX Bar Podcast.
The Instagram's Well, the Instagram's now CAX Bar YYC.
Okay, here
we go. But on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the show it's at CAX Bar Podcast. Yeah. So
excellent. And Jessica, where can people find you on social media?
At Jessica Vanderhook on Instagram or Solstice Psychedelics on Instagram.
Okay. I'm going to have those onto the podcast or all these different things. But guys, thanks again, Jess, for joining us. Shawn, thanks again.
Yeah, no, thanks. And, I guess I'm throwing this on our channel too. I think.
Yeah.
So
it's all yours, man.
Cool.
All yours.
Well,
Love it.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.